Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. Today we're back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. Today we have ourselves another Terran versus Terran on the map Frost. Well, it's actually been a while since I've cast a Terran versus Terran, and I cast a Korean ZVP, a Korean TvZ. I figure it's time for a good old TvT. So anyway, we have two great players here spawning down the bottom left-hand side of the map. Playing for Team SKT, it is INnoVation. I guess, unfortunately, playing for the former SKT recently disbanded, which is very unfortunate. However, aLive, spawning up from the top left-hand side of the map. The red Terran player playing for the Afrika Freaks. So both of these players very good regardless of what's going on. And this is from another WESG qualifier game. So these are a few days old, but I figured I'm going to cast one right now as there's actually going to be a Starcraft patch going live soon. And for those of you that don't know, that makes sort of looking and casting replays a little bit wonky with the UIs, so I figured I'll try to cast as many games as I can before that patch goes live. So, as far as Terran versus Terran goes, the meta's pretty defined at this point. However, there's sort of set meta that the players can do. We can see the players go for heavy drop play, or we can see the players open up with the common Reaper into Hellion, and it can sort of be an early on micro battle. But it is like TvT of the old, where there's lots of harassment going on. But because of the legacy of the Void economy, which the players have been on for quite a while at this point, coming up to a year, their players actually do tend to get expansions most games. Look at this, aLive just moving his SCV to the back. They're not wanting INnoVation to be able to sort of harass his SCV. INnoVation, though, is going to see the CCs going down. He may choose to try and harass the building SCV, but no, there's going to be a Reaper coming out of aLive. And INnoVation will know that. He scouted the gas. And now poor aLive, as this is the Frost map, cross spawns, he got the poor end of the deal there, scouting to the right, so he's not going to know quite where INnoVation spawns. He is actually pulling his SCV back, though, as he wants to not lose that SCV. I guess not worth the scout when he can just move out with his own Reaper. Now he's going to see the direction that INnoVation's Reaper is coming from, and he's going to move it back. These two players, they want to fight with their Reapers. Oh, look at this, INnoVation trying to play such a fancy move, comes in with his SCV, hits aLive's Reaper and takes it out with his own. So now this is a massive advantage for INnoVation. For those of you that don't know, as I was talking about this early TvT game, it can sort of be a battle of Reapers and Hellions at the start, and having one Reaper up in the early game is a massive advantage. INnoVation wants to get out so he can keep this advantage. He's going to have another Reaper moving out across the map here. Both players are producing the same amount of units right now, but now INnoVation has an advantage, 2 Reapers to 1 currently. aLive will have a Hellion popping out, and he will have the defender's advantage, but this is still going to give INnoVation a lot of room to pressure. INnoVation didn't quite manage to cancel aLive's CC. If he did, it would have been very, very detrimental to aLive, but he managed to finish that up. Now that might have put aLive on tilt a little bit. Losing an early Reaper like that in such a way with an SCV sort of stabbing your Reaper, that's not a way you want your Reaper to go. There would be 2 here, but there is only 1. INnoVation now sort of swapping out his tech. Looks like he's going to be going for a Cloaked Banshee here. So going to be going for some, oh no, actually a Raven here. Okay, so I guess this is sort of expected. As players in TvT, Banshees it's really the matchup in which Banshees are still mostly common. We haven't seen it in TvZ too much ever since the whole Queen buff range. That sort of stopped players from going for Banshees that often. We've never really seen them too much in TvP, but TvT they're still very optional because of how Terran scanning works. It's very expensive to try and scan and kill off Banshees. But INnoVation just opting to go for a Raven here to play it safe, getting up a Cyclone as well. This is basically the 2 units you need to shut down Banshee harassment, hands down. I guess INnoVation quite confident in this game that he'll be able to take it if it heads to the macro stage. aLive going for a drop though towards INnoVation's base. He's only loaded up 4 Marines and 1 mine though. He's still got these 2 Hellions that are going to run across. I think that might be a bit missed time though from aLive. These Hellions do have a long way to go before they can sort of join up on their harassment. INnoVation is playing this game a little bit greedy. He's going for that fast 3rd CC right now. Now this could actually be shut down hard by aLive. Normally you wouldn't expect a 3rd CC at the 4-minute mark on location, but I guess aLive sort of senses that. He's aware. I guess he knows more about the TvT meta than I do, as he is going to be able to cancel the building of that CC. His drop was shut down hard, and I believe the Cyclone managed to pick off that midi back there, so very nice pick off. But Those players are going an incredible macro route now. aLive saw INnoVation CC, figured he'll just try to catch up by going for his own CC. And this sort of play can work out often very well for the player who actually goes, like, he's got the later CC, there's no truth behind that. But INnoVation, if he chooses to play safe because he thinks he's the player that's going greedy, it can work out for aLive if he sort of cancels out INnoVation's greed and sort of gets away with more of his own. INnoVation, though, is pushing with Cyclones and Hellions. It looks like it's going to be mech out of INnoVation, more factories going on. He's moving in with Hellions here. There is some landed units for aLive and trying to hold the top of the ramp, but not enough. A siege tank is out, so that will help him hold, but he's basically lost everything. aLive has one of his own Cyclones. SCVs are getting pulled onto the tank. They need to repair it if they want to help. Instead, the SCV is going for the charge, trying to get on top of the units. But the siege tank goes down. The Cyclone for aLive is going to shoo away one of INnoVation's, so all the Cyclones for INnoVation have gone down. And that push was shut down. Just Hellions can't do too much damage when there's defense for aLive, but that's not a good start for aLive. aLive being continuously sort of shut down just by INnoVation's control here. And INnoVation is going for mech. INnoVation, if you watched him in sort of previous seasons, he was an absolute mech monster. Loved to play that style, and it's quite common in TvT lately, so players have been making it work, and INnoVation is one of the players who's going to try to do that in this matchup. So many mules drop for INnoVation, by the way. 5 mules, that's something like 1,000 resources there. aLive dropping his own mules, but not quite as many. But regardless, incomes are actually quite ahead for INnoVation right now, but they are going to even up with all those mules dropping. INnoVation floating over that staple barracks, which is moving out across the map. He doesn't need it for anything, really, other than building factories, but the scouting information is worth it. INnoVation, though, shutting down aLive's mining on his third base, and now this is a lot of harassment that INnoVation is getting done. As INnoVation's the mech player, usually it's the bio player that's trying to get the damage done to the meching player, trying to sort of shut down and stop the other player from reaching that terrible mech army, and by terrible I mean unstoppable mech army. We see INnoVation, though, is doing a great job sort of playing the Legacy of the Void style of mech here, just playing sort of aggressive while slowly building up this old school sort of strong unit composition. We see aLive moving out with a Marine, gonna see a barracks floating out there, complete confirmation that it is mech. Quite suspected that it would be mech this game due to all the Hellions and Cyclones, but now he's gonna have complete confirmation. aLive moving out, got these tank evacs. Tank evacs are quite good versus mech still, as really Hellions aren't good versus tanks. Cyclones are good versus tanks, but sort of not when it gets to the mass amount. But INnoVation, though, is quite a scary production. He's going to have 5 factories done, hence why he doesn't really care too much about keeping his barracks alive. So he's going to be churning out constant siege tanks, constant hellbats, and INnoVation might just go for a push across the map here. He's built himself up a scary supply lead with sort of his eco advantage, and when you have more supply as mech, it's quite scary for the other player. aLive does have a +1, and he's going to have 1/1 on the waist, well done pretty much, if an attack happens, so he will have an upgrade advantage. INnoVation will have +1 attack, but really it's all going to come down to the siege tank positioning. If aLive can sort of get us around, get a good drop-off on INnoVation's army, then he'll be able to shut it down with relative ease, but really it all comes down to positioning right now, and aLive sort of needs to stay back. I think it would be best if aLive tried to go for some harassment and keep INnoVation busy, but INnoVation is such a solid player when it comes to shutting down harassment. He's just got a barracks everywhere. He's not a player who's sort of going to be pulled apart just by a bio Terran. 2-2 on the way for aLive. I'm not sure if it's going to be relevant in this game, though. It could just come down to one big fight. Right now we see aLive just moving out. He's going to possibly kill off a Hellbat. But INnoVation, he's got a large amount of tanks and Hellbats loaded up into medivacs right now, so he can sort of just push away this army for aLive. aLive's macro has not been the best. He's not been producing too many siege tanks, but I mean, his macro was stifled, so he's really doing all he can, is what I mean. So aLive, he's sort of got 2 small armies that are separated right now. He might be trying to go for a flank on INnoVation's army, but there's so much for INnoVation. INnoVation doesn't care. He's just pushing right into the army of aLive. aLive was trying to go for a fancy flank maneuver, but he's really just being pushed out, not synced up with that attack. He's going to try to get a drop-off on the siege tanks, but these are on siege. They're just going to be able to crush the units as they try to drop out. INnoVation sieging up the rest of the tanks, pulling back Vikings to try and shoo away the army. Misrally tank for aLive is going to go down to the tanks of INnoVation. aLive's trying to produce all he can to sort of deal with this. He's going to have 2-2 in a minute, but it might be too late here. INnoVation's starting to shut down a large portion of aLive's production. Nothing really going to be on the way there. aLive starting to drop on top of the siege tanks for INnoVation. The friendly fire from the tanks are going to help sort of kill the other. aLive going for a push here. Marauders are focusing Hellbats. That's not really important. aLive could have done with an SCV pull there, but ultimately it's not enough as INnoVation manages to take that quick TvT game. We saw mech, but it definitely wasn't a long game there. So very well played by INnoVation. Just sort of played incredibly solid. I guess sort of just the way he played was so solid that it just sort of defeated aLive. It's hard to say whether it was the unit composition there, but he had such a solid start, did INnoVation for a mech, for a meching Terran. Regardless, if you guys have enjoyed the cast, feel free to leave a like. If you enjoy the content, feel free to subscribe, as I'm always putting out new StarCraft 2 content. Might put out another replay right after this, as I said, want to cast as many games as I can before the patch goes out. And then after the patch, I'll certainly be covering more content, but there may be a day or two, depending on whether I can get my hands on replays. So regardless, I shall see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.